In this video, I'll be remodeling this house listed on Zillow in The Sims 3. This is a 3-bed, 1-bath, single-story ranch-style home. It was built in 1987 and recently sold for $175,000. It's about 1,100 square feet or 102 square meters on a lot of land that's about 9/10 of an acre. This home features an attached carport, a separate storage shed, central air, a washer and dryer, vinyl wood flooring, and at least 6 different shades of blue paint. This home is located in Wartburg, Tennessee, which is right outside Frozen Head State Park, the home of the Barkley Marathons, and about 80 miles from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, the home of Dollywood. So, an ideal location for someone who enjoys unreasonably difficult trail ultramarathons, theme parks, and Dolly Parton. Personally, Dollywood is on my bucket list, but the Barkleys, not so much. Moving on to the remodel, the main layout changes that I want to make are to separate the kitchen from the living room, add a sunroom onto the back of the house, add an ensuite bathroom off of the primary bedroom, and a half bathroom off the laundry room. The budget for this remodel is about 35,000 simoleons. It's for a family that I actually play with, the Bayless-Greenwood family. So I didn't want to use any cheats for money, but I did get the Inheritance Lifetime Reward to fund this because although the Sims economy is much more forgiving than our own, and intergenerational wealth is not the only path to homeownership, as it is for younger generations in real life, it still does help to have if you want a nice house in The Sims. But anyway, this family consists of the couple Tay Bayless of the Twinbrook Baylesses, his wife Emerald Greenwood from the Greenwood family, another pre-made family in the Twinbrook neighborhood, their daughter Jane, and their 2 dogs Pedro and Penelope, or Penny for short. Alright, let's get into the build. Like I mentioned, the first thing I wanted to do was create some separation between the kitchen and the living room, because that space is large enough to accommodate 2 individual rooms, and I think it will make the layout less awkward. Looking at the Zillow photos, you can see there are 2 little panels of wall there already, and in between those panels along the ceiling there is a visible seam, so I do wonder if there was a full wall there at some point in the past and I'm just returning the space to how it used to be. I know nothing about building, but that seems plausible. As you can see, I went with terracotta tiles for the flooring. I used natural materials for all the floors in this house, so terracotta here, cork in the bedrooms, and linoleum in the bathrooms, because Emerald has the eco-friendly personality trait, just like her parents, Oliver and Holly Greenwood. And in that same sustainable vein, I used mostly furniture and decor that looks like it's from a previous decade and would have been purchased secondhand or handed down from family or friends. The design for the kitchen and living room is very 70s inspired, with darker stained woods, busy wallpaper, and pendant light fixtures. Clearly I took a lot of inspiration from this particular house in Austin, Texas, which I think is perfect. I have no notes. This style is way more up my alley, unlike the styles of the houses I did in my first 2 videos, so a lot of the design choices I'm making are things that I would maybe do in a house if I had one, or furniture and decor that I would pick up at the thrift store for my apartment, like this kind of 70s looking stuff that I currently have in my place, though I'm not sure any of this is actually from the 70s. At least where I live, it's become hard to find things that old, and I know that's not that old, but still hard to find things that old at the big chain thrift stores like Goodwill and Savers, which is where most of my stuff is from, except for the chest of drawers in the first photo, which is from a used furniture store in Oakland called Poor Honey's, which I would totally recommend if you live in the Bay Area and you're looking for secondhand furniture in good shape at a decent price. Obviously, it's a little higher price point than Goodwill, though even Goodwill prices are kind of steep lately, but it's not as outrageous as the pricing in consignment stores in areas with more foot traffic. I have a couple things from there, those drawers and leather armchair, which I think was about $100, so possible I could have talked that price down. I didn't try. Social stuff is not my strong suit, but anyway, this is all completely meaningless to anyone who isn't near the Bay Area, which would be most people, so apologies for the digression. And at this point, I've moved on to the living room. I've got a large area rug down, which will be changing colors eventually to something a little lighter, and I'm putting some wood paneling on the wall. I guess we can pretend it's reclaimed wood to fit with Emerald's backstory. And just to get into the background for this family a bit more, Tay and Emerald are both pre-made Sims who are children when you start a new game in Twinbrook. Tay is the youngest child in the Bayless family, which is a family I tend to play with pretty often if I'm coming back to The Sims after hiatus and I don't want to bother with Create a Sim. The Bayless family is Skip and Gwen, their teenage daughter Chase, and their son Tay. But in my current save, Tay also has 3 younger siblings whose names are Sunny, Kit, and Dale. Kit is my favorite. The Bayless family bio reads, "The origins of the Bayless name are a bit hard to track down. Written records, where legible, even 2 generations back, use the less, lis, and even lees suffix varietals. Debt prison records from 1788 list one Philippe Baylay as a catfish thief and chronic renegager. But lineage is circumstantial at best, and like little Chase says, why y'all care about apostrophes?" So, I don't know, I guess there's a sense that the game is looking down on them a little bit, but they're a fun family to play with. Aesthetically, I really like that swampy side of Twinbrook. I like the Bayless house, and playing with a family that doesn't have everything up front does provide more opportunity for that quick, easy feeling of accomplishment from making things a little bit nicer for the next generation. But anyway, that's the Bayless side of the family. In this save, Tay's lifetime wish is to become a celebrated 5-star chef, and he's about halfway up the culinary career track ladder. And as you can see, I'm almost done with the living room here. I changed the green paint on the wall behind the TV to a more textured fabric kind of wallpaper, and connected 2 bookshelves on either side of the TV with a horizontal shelf, in kind of an attempt to give the look of one big entertainment center, but looking at it now, I should have moved the shelves in all the way next to the TV stand if I wanted it to look like one piece of furniture. Maybe on another build, but that's pretty much it for the living room. And next up is the daughter Jane's room. The first thing I wanted to do here was to set the flooring that will be used for all of the bedrooms. The original flooring appears to be a vinyl plank, so essentially plastic. I was pretty sure I wanted cork flooring because I had some vague notion that it is considered a sustainable choice, but just to confirm that, I did end up watching this YouTube video by Belinda Carr titled "Bamboo versus Cork Flooring, Everything You Need to Know." And it was everything I needed to know. It was very informative. It covered sourcing of the materials, durability, and end-of-life disposal, so a good watch if you're in the market for sustainable flooring. And as you can see, I did go with the cork in a herringbone pattern, or at least some texture in the color wheel that kind of looks like cork. To guide the overall design for this room, I did use a color palette generator like I did for the Baker house in my first video. Jane's favorite color is hot pink, so I started with that. The palette generator calls these colors bright pink Crayola, cream, eggplant, and cocoa brown, though I would call that last one burnt orange. I wrote down the names this time, so I wouldn't be relying on my limited color vocabulary and calling everything light this or dark that like last time. I also had enough sense this time to actually type the hex codes into the color wheel to get a real match rather than fiddling around until something looked right, and that worked out much better. Just to go back to family backstory for a minute, since I spoke about Tay but not Emerald. Emerald is also a youngest child in the Greenwood family when you start a new game in Twinbrook. The Greenwood family is married couple Oliver and Holly, their teenage daughter Jade, and youngest daughter Emerald. Their family bio reads, "Since the birth of their first child Jade, Oliver and Holly have tried to raise their family in the greenest and most carbon-neutral way possible. From eating sustainably to riding bikes instead of taking cars, Jade and Emerald have looked up to their parents' way of doing things. However, the day will come when the kids find themselves picked on at school for their eco-friendly lifestyle. What will they do then?" Well, they could try moving to the Pacific Northwest. That would probably help. But anyway, in keeping with Emerald's environmentalist values, her lifetime wish in my game is the perfect garden, which is to grow 8 different species of perfect plants, and she's in the lawyer career track, which is not an EA creation in The Sims. It's one of the careers created by Missy Hissy that you can download if you have the NROS Careers mod. It's a rabbit hole career, so there aren't any impacts to gameplay or anything, but it's just nice to have more options. And lawyer is a career track you'd think would be in the base game already. It's one of those professions that's pretty easy to conceptualize even for kids, and which provides the backdrop for hundreds of TV shows. I was going to say it's even in the game of life, but I checked and that is inaccurate. At least for the version that I played as a kid, though they do have travel agent, which is pretty wild. But anyway, I don't typically play with a ton of mods in my game. I just have a few for performance, like Error Trap, some extra Missy Hissy careers, and the no fridge shopping mod, because I do like making my Sims go to the grocery store when they need food. I think everyone has their little specific areas where they do and don't want realism in the game. Like, I won't use cheat codes for money typically, but I almost always end up getting the inheritance lifetime reward. And really, what is an inheritance if not a cheat code for money? And I won't ever play with laundry because it's tedious, but then I use a mod to force my Sims to have to leave the house and purchase ingredients for their meals. It's all inconsistent. I don't want to look too closely at what the inheritance stuff might say about me, but the laundry and grocery stuff is pretty true to life. I do dislike doing laundry because the situation in my apartment building is messed up, but I do actually look forward to grocery shopping because I usually do that at Grocery Outlet. And there are always surprises there, since they get excess stock from other retailers, so never know what you're going to get when you walk in. Just gives me that dopamine hit from the unknown, like people get from gambling or checking social media. And I just want that for my Sims, too. But anyway, at this point in the remodel, I'm working on these little shared areas of the house. There wasn't a need for a third bedroom, because I don't see this couple having any more children, and it wouldn't really make sense with the whole sustainability thing. Raising children is very resource intensive, especially in the US, so what was originally the third bedroom has been divided up into a small office on the right there, a playroom, and what will be the ensuite bathroom for the primary bedroom, but I haven't touched that yet. And then I've got this big ol' sunroom addition in the back of the house. That green flooring is supposed to be linoleum, not to be confused with vinyl. Linoleum is made from natural materials, including linseed oil, pine rosin, and sawdust, so it's actually renewable and biodegradable, whereas vinyl flooring is made from polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, a synthetic polymer made from ethylene or naphtha, which are derived from crude oil, petroleum, or natural gas. So I went with linoleum in the sunroom and in all the bathrooms, in keeping with the Greenwood family values. And speaking of the bathrooms, I've moved on to the ensuite bathroom here. I didn't stick with the 1970s kind of design trends in the bathrooms. I went with more of a 1940s to 1950s kind of look, because I knew I either wanted a blue or pink sink and toilet, and the rest of the room would kind of be anchored to that. I ended up going with the blue, and I do like it, but it's not the exact shade of blue I wanted. I like the blue on the linoleum floor, but the sink and toilet are a bit too bright and a little too green tinted, so I wish I had used the color palette generator for this one, but anyway, I ended up with a more faded dark blue linoleum, and then a very bright blue sink, toilet, and tiled shower. The main colors in the wallpaper are green, white, and yellow, and then the textiles, the towel, and the little rug are a light lime green. It's not perfect, but I like it. I actually like all the bathrooms in this house, which is not usually the case for me. I don't know what it is about designing bathrooms in The Sims, but I feel like mine always end up in the uncanny valley. Like, they contain the proper objects for a bathroom, but I would be suspicious of them if I encountered them in real life. Like a bathroom on a TV set or something. And at this point, I'm working on Jane's bathroom, the largest bathroom in the house. This one's also inspired by 40s and 50s bathrooms, but without the colored porcelain and with tile on the outside of the tub, which makes it look a little more 1980s like these bathrooms. I started out with a color palette that I didn't end up liking so much. I had light pink floor, yellow cabinets, forest green textiles, and blue and white wallpaper. So I ended up coming back the next day and fixing it. I switched the wallpaper to a yellow plaid pattern, made the floors a dark blue, and switched all the textiles to a bright orange. So I think that works much better, and it's kind of giving Bert and Ernie, which is nice. Though I regret Googling Bert and Ernie to get that photo. I forgot that the question of whether or not they're an item, a question that approximately 0 human beings were actually asking, was reported on by every media outlet in existence in 2018. There's so much and also nothing to say about that, so I'm not going to touch it, but I will say, if you ever want to feel like your intelligence is being insulted, just Google the word controversy along with literally any other word. And at this point, I'm on the last room in the house, the primary bedroom, and I am running into the constraints of my budget. I started with a little over 34,000 simoleons, and like I said, I didn't want to use any cheat codes for money with this family, but I do start switching into live mode off and on to sell off any fish, produce, or books from the family inventories that can be spared, which brought the total budget up to a little over 35,000 simoleons. And I also have to replace that bed eventually with a cheaper option to have enough money left over to finish the exterior. But for this room, we're back to more of a 60s or 70s vibe, and I did follow a color palette for this one. Left to right, the colors are eggshell, vermilion, maize, drab dark brown, rude, and fern green. And there's that less expensive replacement bed I put in to get some simoleons back for the outside of the home. First step on the exterior was getting rid of the red paint. It's such a strong color choice, I think you'd feel like the house still belonged to the previous owners if you kept it like that. And I wanted something that played a little bit nicer with the colors of nature rather than demanding all attention. So I thought just a mix of brown and white, kind of like these mid-century modern ranch-style homes, would work well and also act as a neutral backdrop for any kind of landscaping I might add in. But I do leave a nod to red with the color on the front door. And since we're nearing the end of the video, I just want to note that both the before and after version of this house are available for download on the Sims 3 Exchange, and there are links to those in the description. If you do your own remodel of the before version, I'd love to see it, so please feel free to reach out and share. Or if there's a listing on Zillow you'd like to see remodeled, let me know. As long as the photos have no furniture, or only like staging furniture from the realtor. I just don't want to show anybody's stuff because that feels invasive. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. The before and after montage is coming right up. I will probably have another video up in about 2 weeks or so, but until then, hope you all enjoy your June or whatever month you're in. Congrats to any recent grads, and don't forget sunscreen if you're going out. Goodbye.